200 episodes. We did it. I never thought we would be able to do it, but we did it. And there was a bunch of people speculating what the 200th episode was. And I mean, come on. It's the movie that we've been sort of talking about for every episode
for a year.
So, Brian, for the final time ever, hit us with them 6 degrees.
All right. So this is going to be a very easy one because the movie that we're doing is Beetlejuice. So very simply, this movie is starring Kathleen O'Hara, who was in A Mighty Wind with Eugene Levy. And Eugene Levy was in American Pie with Jason Biggs, who you might have seen in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with Mark Lucas, who was in First Daughter with Michael Keaton, who was in Beetlejuice.
It defied expectations. I love it.
So this is going to be a very different episode of Horror Movie Night because, honestly, 2 things. 1, this episode is going to be a whole lot of quoting more than anything. 2, this movie is almost, I would dare to say, a flawless movie. Like, there's not a lot that I can pick holes in. This is just going to be a celebration of what I think I can firmly say now is the best Tim Burton movie.
Yes. Yeah, I would say the best. Not my favorite, but definitely the best.
That's a good way to put it. I would say the same.
Yeah, it's far from my favorite, but it's
Wait,
it's
so
sad.
what's your favorite?
My favorite personally is Ed Wood.
I was going to say Ed Wood's in my top 3. I feel like my favorite would always be a toss-up of this and Pee-wee.
Yeah, I knew.
I always forget that Pee-wee is a Tim Burton flick, though.
I know. I like the least Ed Woody movies, so it's like, the least Tim Burton-y movies like Ed Wood and Big Fish that don't truly feel like Tim Burton movies, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure falls into this. But this is Tim Burton's coming out show of like, this is what Tim Burton movies are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, Tim Burton is a doozy because he just was making knockouts, and then he made Planet of the Apes, and you're just like, oh no, we lost him. And then he comes back with Big Fish, and you're like, he's back. And then he comes out with Charlie. Yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You're like, don't worry, he did this with Planet of the Apes. He's coming back. And then he just made 5 other Disney movies, and you're like, we lost them. And then I gotta say, he bounced back on Dumbo.
Dumbo was fun.
Wait, Dumbo's a Tim Burton flick?
Yeah.
It's got Michael Keaton
and it's
in
not
it.
super Tim Burton.
Wait, and it's got Michael Keaton in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Danny DeVito.
Wow. Wow, so it's actually Batman 3.
Yeah. It's actually on one of the interviews, that's what Danny DeVito said. He said it's the first time the 3 of them worked together since Batman Returns.
Really?
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
So let's start. First note right out the gate is this movie has such a perfect score. This is my favorite Danny Elfman soundtrack. And I think it's the first musical score I ever purchased where I was like, I just want to be able to listen to this sans movie whenever I want. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing is, fuck you, Danny Elfman, because this song, the main theme, is in the craziest time signatures. Like, it's not the craziest time signatures, I'm sorry. But it's like, it goes 4-4-6-4-4-4-4-4-4-4-4-6-4. It's like crazy. And as of recording, I have not finished it, but I am trying to cover this song. It's real hard, guys.
So the least likable character in this entire movie
Otho?
is Jan, the real estate agent, who's just storming into people's houses like, hey, I've been showing people your house so that you'll move out. Like, who is this bitch?
But she's the only one that paid her respect. Well, I guess that's kind of, I don't know. Unless it's family, maybe that's normal.
She says that they're family. She's like, oh, they're family. But that's the only reference to that.
Because, like, if I had someone that I worked with, right, and they died, him and his wife died, it's respectful for me to go to their funeral. It's kind of weird for me and their child to be like, so you know that guy I work with that died? We're going to go stare at his house. Let's go. We're going to drive out and look at the house. Like, that's weird if it's not
the
family.
implication is that she's the real estate agent that sold the house to the Dietzes after they died.
But then it's more disrespectful because she couldn't even wait till the funeral was over because they were in full funeral attire.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hats and all.
that's true.
Yeah, she's dropping off the key and everything.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But she's awful, but she's followed by my favorite character, which is the bartender sitting out, or the barber sitting out front.
Oh my God.
Every
I never
time.
noticed him. I never noticed him before.
Oh,
He's
no, that
so-
always used to be a house favorite. That's
He's got hair to his goddamn shoulders, and he says, trim it a little. I think it's a Kelly family favorite because it sounds like some of the stories that our grandpa would say.
yeah. Now, before we get into laughs, we got to get serious about this episode for a second. This episode is almost ruined my engagement and my relationship and put me in a bad spot.
Oh my God, did Jade not like Beetlejuice?
No, Jade loves Beetlejuice, but
Okay.
Jade's okay with being number 2. She's accepted being number 2. And
Okay.
then she came in, she said, "Oh, look, it's your girlfriend." And I said, "Who? Winona Ryder?" She said, "Yeah, you love her." I said, "I do." And then we were eating dinner, and she said, "Wait a second. Christina Ricci is your girl. That means that there's 2 girls above me." and I couldn't lie to her. I said, "Yes."
The pacing in this movie, I never realized it until I was watching it yesterday, but the pacing of this movie is flawless, man. It like that you introduce your main characters and then they're just dead and they're ghosts and we're into it. Like, it doesn't drag anything out. It knows exactly when to introduce characters at what time. Like, it is so well structured.
I agree, and I also want to point out the fact that they're so good at the timing that you have the foreshadowing of the dog right as they're about to drive over the covered bridge. It's perfect.
And the other thing that I guess I always liked this movie, but I feel like I liked it from a visual standpoint, and I thought that Beetlejuice was funny. You know what I mean?
That's what most people gravitated to in the late 80s when we're all watching this as children, far too young.
Yeah, but like there's so many subtle, quick jokes, and I feel like it has to do with, you know, Tim Burton casting so many improv actors in the movie. I'm pretty sure Michael Keaton threw out the script and just ad-libbed all of Beetlejuice's lines.
I love it.
I wouldn't be surprised if the pervert teacher from Sleepwalkers was a ad-lib guy.
Yeah, because my favorite scene in this whole movie now, never liked it as a kid, is just Otho and Delia walking around the house, and their like little quips and one-liners are so fucking funny.
Yeah.
There's a one line where Delia just goes, "Oh, look, an indoor outhouse." They just like pass the room.
These are both Otho quotes. "I was a hair analyst briefly," which is really funny to me. And then he goes, "Deliver me from LL Bean."
Yeah. There's
I want that tattooed.
There's the scene where they open the closet and she rips off her face and he just goes, "Oh my God. We can only pray that the closets are bigger than this one." It's so dry. She also has the line, "This is my art and it is dangerous."
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. But then also, it like pins her against the house and she goes, "This isn't the way I wanted to go," or something like that.
Yeah. Do you think I want to die this way?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
But like the other Beetlejuice line that I think it was the only joke that I didn't get as a kid, and now it's hysterical to me, as he's reading the newspaper and he goes, "All right, let's go to the business section." He just opens up to the obituary. It's just like so bizarre. It's so dark.
All of when they go to like the DMV of the dead, pretty much.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good, and one thing I liked about it, watching it now, is like every semi pun or joke about like the way someone died or someone being dead isn't beaten over the head. It's like a one and done for everything.
And some of it is just a straight visual gag, but it's not touched upon by anybody. It's not like, "Hey, look at that guy." It's literally like, it's okay. So I actually have a question. Who is your favorite Afterlife waiting room character?
I love the skeleton smoking a cigarette.
Yes, the cigarette guy. He's so funny. He's like,
he's got the twitches the whole time.
That character is so hilarious to me. And oh my God, this movie is just so hard to talk about and not just gush.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, I was in my 20s before I picked up the line where Otho says, you know what happens to people when they commit suicide? They become social workers in the afterlife.
And then,
And
she's a social worker.
Every single person that's working there, you have like the beauty queen with the slit wrists, and it looks like their main social worker cut her throat, and like the guy was so like the one dude's so smashed up that it had to have been like an intentional like run over, and then the dude hanging from the noose just dropping files off.
I love that
desks.
guy.
That's my favorite worker for sure.
It's so funny because he's on a pulley system, and he's just like he's like throwing stuff on. It's not even in a well-mannered situation. Like he's just like tossing random papers.
So much of this movie still like that, like the claymation sandworm.
Oh, the
still
sandworm
looks amazing.
It looks so good.
It just seems like, and not to jump ahead, but it was the wedding scene was when I like turned to Jade and I was like, I bet you Tim Burton had so much fucking fun making this movie.
It feels like whenever you imagine your best case scenario of having free reign to do whatever you want, like it's Beetlejuice. You know what I mean? Like it comes out like that, because the story was that I forget what the original title was, but the studio didn't like the name Beetlejuice, and they had pitched something to Tim Burton, and he was so offended. He's like, well, why don't we just call it Scared Sheetless then? And they were like, well, that's actually a great title. And he was like, no!
I love puns. That's a shitty title.
I only actually have one Beetlejuice quote written down, which is weird for me.
I can't. But are you serious?
Yeah, I think it's just because I memorized so much. I could watch this movie in my sleep and tell you line for line it. But I have I'll eat anything you want me to eat. I'll swallow anything you want me to swallow. Come on down, I'll chew on the dog.
He sounds pretty drunk the whole movie, which I really think is hilarious.
Dude, the scene where he's meeting the Dietzes for the first time is just joke after joke after joke, and it hits.
Are you talking about the Maitlands?
Or so, yeah, the Maitlands.
The Maitlands, yeah.
Yeah, where he's just like, hey, we shop at the same store.
God, I love that scene.
It's so fucking funny.
Like if I can talk as much shit about Michael Keaton Batman as I want because he did this.
Yeah, and he's barely in the movie. When you really think about it, he's in the movie. I think they said like 17 minutes out of the 90 minutes.
Almost as long as, or he's in here just a little bit longer than Mathilda May in Life Force, and she was naked the whole time.
Yeah, like it's just, but every time he's on the screen, you can't look anywhere else. Like,
yeah, the same with Mathilda May.
He's so charismatic in like that scene in the graveyard is so fucking funny.
You want a Zagnut? I had never even heard of a Zagnut until I saw this movie, and I was like, that looks great.
He's trying to just lure the fly. Oh my
And then
God.
that's a great little callback because it goes, help me, which is a callback to The Fly.
When they disappear, and he's just like, come on over to my place, we'll have some drinks, talk it over. And he turns around, they're just gone. He's like, where'd he go? So this scene though is the scene of the infamous Matt Kelly moment, where my mom took me down to the park, and I was about 4 years old, and I was hanging out at the park, and I was a weird, lonely kid, and I yelled over to my mom, "Look, I'm Beetlejuice," and she says, in my mind, I thought he was going to like sing the Banana Boat song or something, but in front of everybody at the park, you ran up and you kicked a tree as hard as you could. And you looked at me and screamed, "Nice fucking model!" And then you grabbed your crotch and yelled, "Honk, honk!"
Yeah. Oh my God, kids are fucking stupid.
And that's how I ended up where I am today.
Yeah, I don't. Of all the Beetlejuice comments and quotes in this movie, "Nice fucking model" is probably my least favorite. But that doesn't say much because it's still fucking great.
It's so stupid in the context, like just like kicking over a tree on a giant model and just saying "nice fucking model."
I wouldn't be surprised if that was completely just
ad-lib. For sure.
Yeah,
110%. They just had to add the honk honk in later
in post.
So there's one thing that I have a problem with in this entire movie, and it's
that it's not twice as long.
Yeah. So there's the banana boat sequence, which is kind of a famous sequence. It's
It's
fine.
my least favorite, actually, of this movie. The only part that I fast forwarded watching it again, because I've seen this movie a dozen times in my life.
Yeah.
I don't watch the banana boat scene anymore.
It is what it is, but it's the Asian girl in all green is a horrendous actress.
Oh, she's terrible.
Like she has like 4 lines, and all 4 of the lines sound so forced and bad.
But she is the worst actress, but I think she's very cute. Personally.
That's
Jesus
well, Christ. Jade better not listen to this episode. Holy shit.
Jade doesn't listen to anything I do.
It's like you've already been married.
Yeah. I don't even know why you're getting the paper and spending the money.
But then, so we've talked about like the sandworm claymation, but you also have that Beetlejuice snake. Which
it's great.
Just looks so good. And again, great like Michael Keaton improv lines, I assume, with the "We're here to take your daughter."
Yeah. It's when he and Lydia meet each other finally, and he says he's a beetle, and he goes, he's trying to have her say Beetlejuice, and he makes himself a giant beetle, and she looks at him and he goes, "Hi, how are you?" That's my
favorite line.
It is such like how you can't explain that to anybody as your favorite line, but it's just so funny.
I've definitely said that hi, how are you to people just when I meet just for my own enjoyment. No one's like, "Oh, that's a Beetlejuice reference." But I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I feel like your favorite Lydia quote should actually be, "I myself am strange and unusual."
Now she has a couple good ones where she's making fun of Delia, but I forget. She's like kind of the most forgettable character for me.
Lydia?
And that's weird because she's kind of like who the like you can tell that it's the character that Tim Burton connects the most with is Lydia, but like Winona Ryder is great in it, but when you've got like the Michael Keaton and the Catherine O'Hara and Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis just tearing it up, she kind of just having like a very bland, moody personality makes her very forgettable in the movie to me. She has a line, it's not even a particularly funny line, it's just her reacting, but it's right after the snake scene. And her mom's all pissed off, and Delia storms upstairs and is banging on the door, and she yells, "Come out of there or we'll drag you out by the nooses you hung yourselves with." And she just goes, "They didn't commit suicide."
So here's the thing about Winona Ryder. I am not convinced she's actually a good actress. I'm not shitting on her at all, but like
she just picks the right parts for who she actually is.
Yes, I don't think she's an actress. I think she's just Winona Ryder.
The only other scene I have written down, and then I kind of just was like, I know this movie. I don't need to take notes on this movie. Beetlejuice attacking everybody, including Robert Goulet. Giant circus setup.
Wait, did we have a toy of that?
I still have a toy in the box of that scene.
Okay. Of course you do. And you're the guy giving me shit for spending $15 on a copy of Killer Party on VHS.
I don't think I gave you shit per se.
You said that I don't have my life in check or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
I feel like I have no position to say that to somebody.
And that's exactly what I said to you.
The other line, Brian mentioned the priest. That's another one of the lines that I always find myself quoting is just, "Do you beetle?" Like,
I love when she goes, when he throws Lydia's voice and goes, "I love this man of mine." That's so funny, but not quite as funny as when Barbara, Gina Davis, tries to say his name. She's like, "Beetlejuice," and he goes, "Ree!"
It's that whole scene is so insane because because then it's like she says it, he puts a zipper on her mouth, she unzips it, he says it again, he throws the metal plate, but then with Adam he rips his teeth out of his mouth, and then it's like shattering teeth at his feet.
It's so great. Oh man, what a fun movie. Like this is I don't know if I've mentioned it on the show or not, but Megan and I recently became aunt and uncle. Her brother and his wife just had a baby boy, and the first it was like the first or second night he was home, they live close enough, so we drove down to their apartment, and I was holding him, the baby, and the first film that he watched and it was with me, was The Addams Family. Now, the first one that I want him to actively know might have to be Beetlejuice.
Yeah, no, so we'll get to the double feature soon enough, but I have a very weird double feature that's based on a very real continuous ritual of my Saturday mornings for like a year. But yeah, I feel like Beetlejuice was that movie that when you discovered it at a young enough age, and it was something that a lot of kids watch at a young age because of the cartoon. Like the cartoon really drew you in. And the cartoon, while I'm sure it has flaws, anytime that I look up like clips of it, I am impressed by how bizarre it was for a Saturday morning cartoon. Like it had a lot of different art styles happening at once, and it did a lot of really cool experimental shit, which is cool. It doesn't make any sense.
But they made them pals.
Liddy and Beetlejuice are buddies.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely flaws. There are flaws in the movie to TV show transition, but it looks like it was a visually interesting show.
If you guys were gonna cosplay from this movie, what would you do?
Ooh.
I've seen a lot of people try to do Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis with the mutated faces.
I've seen a lot of that. I've seen it done well.
And it never looks good. It usually doesn't look good. Or it just looks like they're wearing a purchased mask.
Yeah, but I've seen people that have made their own masks and have done great jobs. So, I mean, that seems like it would be kind of played out for me.
I'm going to go with the assumption that I am almost always at a convention sitting behind a booth.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do Beetlejuice specifically when he's sitting in the lawn chair on the deck of the
whorehouse?
The whorehouse. But if we're going to step away, be slightly less obscure, the first time that you see Beetlejuice where he's almost got like the cabbie coat and cabbie hat on.
Yep, I love that.
Like, I think that's the best look. I know that people do a lot of the tuxedo and the striped suit.
I think that the striped suit is so overdone, though. I feel like if you're gonna do it, you do. Now, I like the one where he's wearing the conductor hat, but what I want to do is well, it sucks because we don't have enough time to do this, but the next time we go to a con together, I want you to be Beetlejuice and me to be Alec Baldwin when we're wearing the same clothes.
I would be 100% down with that because that's easy enough.
It's so dumb.
That's so stupid, but yet so funny. We used to, we stopped doing it, but at work, these guys would, whenever two people would come in wearing the same shirt, someone would Photoshop their heads onto Alec Baldwin and Beetlejuice and send it out through the group chat.
I would probably do, what the hell's his name? The designer.
Otho.
Otho.
Because that.
Would you be Otho when he's in the? You could be Otho when he is in the ugly denim suit.
Yeah.
Or Otho in a kimono.
Like the thing is, I'm sassy and I'm pudgy.
Yeah.
And I don't care for cosplay too much, so the least amount of effort I have to put into it is better. Like I got confused by that because I decided not to dress up for a Halloween party, and they were like, "Great Otho," and I was like, "Excuse me, say again."
Apparently, when that actor died.
Wait, Otho died?
Yeah, the actor who played Otho died maybe like 10 years ago. But apparently at his funeral, the last song played was the Banana Boat song, which is just like...
I don't know if that's in poor taste or not. I honestly couldn't tell you.
I'm sure that was probably a request. I don't think someone's just like, it'd be really funny.
Let's troll this dead dude.
But I was going to say, the thing with Beetlejuice that I realized, and it very much is the same thing. It's Tim Burton for me in elementary school and middle school is kind of the same thing as what Kevin Smith was for me in high school. And it makes it all the more upsetting when their careers are kind of as shitty as they've been for the last couple of years. Is Tim Burton definitely was that filmmaker that made me feel less weird for being into the kind of dark, weird shit that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you get to like high school and it's those Kevin Smith movies where it's like, okay, so I'm not the only person who cares this much about pop culture. Like seeing characters really talk in depth about pop culture to the absurd level that I had been talking to my friends about it was this very like welcoming, okaying feeling. And then, to see like kind of that they've become self-parody of themselves is so upsetting because they were something important at a time.
Let me say this. If Tim Burton and I'll stick to Tim Burton right now because Kevin Smith kind of just went a different direction with his career, which let a lot of people down.
To weed? Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, he's smoking weed.
If Tim Burton is at a point in his life where he is so successful and these movies that we don't enjoy are like, I'm at a point in my life where I can do exactly what I want to do and I want to do that, then cool. And it doesn't appeal, like it doesn't really appeal to me. That's fine. Awesome. Do your thing. Now, if you're trying to like play to the audience and you're letting us down, get your fucking shit together.
Yeah,
but like
striking out.
Yeah, but like because I was even thinking watching like the Lonely Island thing, which I loved, and I was like, I love how the more successful Andy Samberg gets, the more he's able. Like I could tell with that one is like he's just at a point in his career where he's like, I'm gonna actually do what I think is funny now, and I don't care, and it's so fucking weird. And it's so out there, but I could tell he's like, you know what? I'm doing what I want to do now because I'm successful enough to do it. And I respect
It's that John Carpenter thing.
Yeah.
It's that John Carpenter thing of John Carpenter really just made movies for John Carpenter.
Yeah. And if they didn't work for me, dude, you just made a movie exactly the way you wanted to make it. Good on you.
Yeah.
So I have one thing to say. I totally get it. I'm with you. I'm here for it. But my only criticism or my only argument against Tim Burton in this situation is I don't actually know if he's making the movies he wants to make currently or if he's like just making movies because they're giving him a fuck ton of money, like a gigantic budget, and he's like, well, this would be fun.
Yeah.
It's not like he has this passion to do it. It's just like, this would be fun.
And
which, I mean, also this would be fun is still a solid enough reason to do something if you
Sure,
have the
sure.
ability to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
But I get it. But like, let's take Harry Potter.
yeah, he's just having fun, but he's also doing something that he would love to do versus
Like
what
the
is like
Swiss Army Man
Yeah.
movie is absolutely one of the most batshit insane things I've ever enjoyed. And I had the best fucking time with that movie. But that said, there's no way that he could not do that without his crazy Harry Potter money. And then Elijah Wood with his crazy Lord of the Rings money, he went and he did fucking Maniac.
Yeah, he just decided he didn't just do Maniac. Like, let's not step aside from the fact that Elijah Wood basically was like, I've got all the money I could ever need from Lord of the Rings. I'm going to start my own horror production company.
Yeah,
Because I secretly love these movies and have never been able to be casted in them.
And that's what makes Anton Yelchin even more sad of him passing away, because he was getting at a point in his life where he was just doing indie type films that he wanted to do.
Let's do our double features, and then let's dive into what's something new that you've watched that you think people should check out. Brian, you've been doing the Beetlejuice thing for a full year, so I believe it's only fair that you get to do the double feature on this.
Yeah, I'll do a double feature. I'm gonna throw it real quick. I'll throw my double feature out. I'm gonna pair it with Frighteners.
All right.
Nice choice.
I think it's
the second best Danny Elfman score.
Yeah. But I do want to address the fans real quick. Not my fans, the fans of Beetlejuice. I don't have fans.
No.
Beetlejuice, like Matt said, is a flawless film. And I've seen for the past 5 years that there's people putting petitions together and making fan art and like begging for a sequel. And if a filmmaker makes a movie and leaves you wanting more, he did his job and that's it. And what happens so many times is we push, we want sequels. Either the original writer does get on board or they don't, but Hollywood sees like, oh, people want this, it's going to go. And then what happens is we go see the movie and we're like, the sequel fucking sucked. They ruined Beetlejuice, blah, blah, blah. Let it be a flawless movie. Don't make a sequel to Beetlejuice.
Well, and I've got good news for you. So Winona Ryder, Tim Burton, and Michael Keaton all at different times have said they would be open to a Beetlejuice sequel, but only if all three of them were involved as well as the original writer.
Mm-hmm.
They were working on a Beetlejuice 2 script, but literally last month they decided to shelve it and not push forward with it. So
good.
As of now, there will be no Beetlejuice 2.
Good.
For my
We're getting a Gremlins 3. I'm happy with Beetlejuice 2.
So my double feature is the weirdest double feature I've ever done, because really these movies have nothing in common with each other except that they were the two movies that I most frequently would watch Saturday mornings before the Saturday morning cartoons started.
Sure.
I'd watch Beetlejuice, or I'd watch Oliver and Company.
Oh my
And
god.
I think it's important to know that the Saturday morning cartoons start at 8 a.m. So just to give you an
Yeah, so
idea
he's
of
been up
what's
since fucking 5:30.
Yeah.
Like,
I was up and ready to go about 5-6 in the morning and needed something to kill time.
I could do a board game. Nah, I think I'll rewatch Beetlejuice or Oliver and Company.
All right, Scott, what's your double feature?
Well, I was originally gonna go with Edward Scissorhands, but
I thought you were going to say Oliver and Company.
I was originally going to go with Oliver and Company, but I decided that mentioning Gremlins 2, the new batch, is a really good double feature for me.
Mhm.
That's
It's
a
a
Scott
solid-
pick right
That's
there.
a solid ass 1-2 punch. So as far as new stuff that we've seen, I'm gonna say right now that I was talking about Beetlejuice and how that spoke to me as an elementary school student, and Kevin Smith really spoke to the high school me. There's a new movie that just came out called Booksmart that I had heard a lot of great things about, and I was really excited to see. But the trailers really weren't like hitting for me. Like they were okay, but they weren't like blowing me away.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first film this year where I've walked away and felt like that's the bar that everything else has to surpass to be the movie of the year for me. It's not perfect, but it is everything you wanted in a teen flick, but from like a good female perspective. It has a lot of like stuff that I still connect to with specifically, and I'll do the short version of this. Concept is these two girls who spent all of high school not talking to anybody except for each other and focusing all their energy into studying and getting into good schools, find out that a lot of the stoners and the kids that they thought were these like idiots got accepted into the same schools that they did, and that in their mind it was you either study or you party, you can't do both. So now it's the last day of school, they're trying to get all of the 4 years worth of partying into one night.
Doesn't it have Jonah Hill's little sisters in it, right?
I think so.
I think Megan said that she's in it. And so you got a real Superbad feel there too.
You got a Superbad vibe to it, but what I really liked about this that was different than Superbad is like Superbad is a little bit more in that American Pie, like we just got to get laid
Yeah.
concept. This is a whole lot more of like realizing that maybe you would shut out people before you gave them a chance to be themselves, and them realizing that like these people that they just were like, oh, they're party animals, so they're assholes, are realizing like, no, they're smart and they're cool people and they're really kind, and like kind of just this whole idea of don't just judge someone right out the gate. And it's like a two-way, it's just very cool in that way, but then it's just absolutely hilarious throughout as well. So big old 2 thumbs up recommend for Booksmart from me.
Cool. I really want to see
All right.
it.
You should. All right, Brian.
I'm going to talk about Chernobyl. And everyone has been on a big kick where Game of Thrones is over and they're canceling their HBO. And if you haven't already, don't. And watch this miniseries about Chernobyl, because it is.
And then cancel HBO.
I mean, listen, I love HBO. I have to buy a membership because my brother and sister, both, my brother being Matt, both canceled HBO. and I will pay for HBO just for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver every week. That alone is why I need it.
But that's not necessary because he uploads his whole show on YouTube the following morning.
He needs the news now.
When have you watched it live ever?
I watch it the next morning, true. But I go to bed early. But yeah, Chernobyl, check it out. It's awesome. It's absolutely insane. And if you don't think that, I understand it was the Soviet era, but if you don't think that this same scenario would happen here, you're just oblivious. The cover up, the like trying to like reduce panic, quote unquote. It's very sad. It's very sick. But it's not like a gore fetish. It doesn't like it focuses on the people. and it doesn't focus like, yeah, you're going to see some like radioactive burns and stuff like that, but it's not like one of those things where it's like, let's gross people out. It's like, look at what these people went through and look how little their government cared. Check it out. It's super, super cool. 5 episodes. We're 3 in. 4th one comes out on Monday. Boom.
Boom.
Cool.
Scott,
So can I mention 2 things?
go for it.
Okay, so real quick, the new Twilight Zone, Katie, my girl Katie, gave me her CBS All Access login, and I've been slowly working my way through. I want to say I was burning through it, but I had a strong day where I watched 3, and then I've just been petering off and watching like half of one at a time now. I really like it a lot. I think that it is great, and I have heard people talk shit about the update of Terror at 30,000 Feet, and I think that they can eat shit because it was fantastic.
Dude.
I feel like that's just a good story, no matter how you tell
Yeah,
it.
I just don't know what they weren't happy about. Like, oh, I'm sorry, there's not a person on the fucking wing of the plane in this one.
There was there was a nice little Easter egg to the original, but it was all in all its own fucking its own fucking episode, like its own story. Did you watch episode 3 with the camera?
That the Traveler?
No.
Oh, Rewind or whatever it is?
One
Yeah,
of the
that's
most
great.
topical
Well,
fucking things.
I thought that it was a bit heavy-handed at the very end, but I think overall it was very well done. And I've said this to Megan many times. I love this new era of like Black excellence. I mean, I don't know if there's a better way to say it, but like I love like Gambino and Lizzo and pretty much anything Jordan Peele fucking does, and it's just and like Black Panther and how important he's going to be in the MCU. I just really love that there's that kind of representation, and I think that is a big attraction for me with Twilight Zone in general. I just think that episode doesn't feel like it was made by a Black person. I don't know who directed it or wrote it or anything, but it just felt like it was a little too over the top. I guess that you get that. Like the very end, I just could have done without it. I loved the concept, and it was very tense. And here's the difference between Twilight Zone and Black Mirror, which Black Mirror is just ripping off Twilight Zone anyway, and I've said that before. I can't watch Black Mirror. I can watch like 2 episodes, and then it's just too dark. And I can take dark. I can take depressing. I can take tension. I can take all those things, but Black Mirror has no fun. It is no fun, and it is just so dour, and I just can't handle it. And I don't like the show. I try, and I just don't like it. But Twilight Zone has the right amount of entertainment, tension, and release. Even if people die, I think that my favorite so far was the comedian. I love Kumail. What's his name?
Yeah, me too.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah.
He's got like 2 or 3 movies this summer. So
Stuber looks really good.
Stuber looks really good, and apparently he's like one of the main characters he's the voice of one of the main aliens in the new Men in Black movie too, which is like
cool.
Good for him. Get that paycheck, dude.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that Men in Black, whatever it is going to be garbage, but
I mean, I'll watch it. It's got Thor in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch anything with Chris Hemsworth. But the movie that Megan and I watched together that I wanted to talk about is The Unicorn Store. Have you guys heard about it?
I think
it's on Netflix.
I was going to say, I've seen it advertised on Netflix, but that's it.
So it is starring Brie Larson and Samuel Jackson. And it's also directed by Brie Larson. And the short, I'll try and give it a short explanation, which is funny because they're just in Captain Marvel together. So, so you have these massive superstars in this really weird, Matt, it is totally in your wheelhouse, buddy. Like it gave me a real Garden State kind of feel. So she's, I know you're in. Also, she's just so incredibly charming. I love Brie Larson. So, she is an art school dropout, and she is like, and her mom is Joan Cusack, and her dad is that guy that he's in a shitload of movies. He's the main controller in the Cabin in the Woods. He gets eaten by the merman.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name though.
Yeah. It's fine. I don't know his name off the top of my head either. But so she like lives at home and she gets a job in an office and she's trying to be a responsible, boring adult. And then she gets this invitation to come to the unicorn store. And she has to like go through all these hoops to get her own unicorn. Fantastic film. It seems like it's an indie film because it seems like it has a very low budget. And I mean, in a good way. It's just very small, you know? Love it. Highly recommend everybody watch it. It's kind of a comedy, but also a little bit drama, but not too drama. Love it. So good.
All right. Well, that is it for episode 200. I can't believe we've come this far. We're going to be recording in the near future a little year 4 retroactive episode. I've pulled some clips as we do every year, so keep your eyes on the feed for that. Always hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/HMM podcast. We finished filming a pilot. The people on Patreon know about it. Now you listeners, if you haven't picked up on the little references that we've made in the past, we shot a TV show pilot. Is something going to happen with it? Who knows? But if you are a $10 or higher donator on Patreon, you will be the first people to see the completed pilot. So go and check that out. And in the meantime, you also get a bunch of cool bonus episodes. I think this week we're talking about this month, we're talking about Hardcore Henry.
Picked by Brian.
Got
win.
thoughts.
First win.
I got thoughts. but we'll get into that.
And motion sickness. You've got thoughts and motion sickness.
Way too much motion sickness. But 200 ain't where we're stopping, dudes. In fact, next week we're going to wax nostalgic. So come and check out what we're doing for episode 201. And we're just going to keep on rocking in the free world over here at Horror Movie Night.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.